You know that feeling when you really want that clicky, satisfying feel of a physical dial,
Mm.
but you also want, well, all the smart stuff from a modern mirrorless camera.
Yeah, the best of both worlds.
Exactly. So imagine a camera that actually gives you both. Kind of intriguing, right?
Definitely.
Welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today we're getting into the Olympus OMD EM10 Mark IV. This one came out mid-2020. It's the fourth iteration in Olympus's entry-level OMD line.
And it's a micro four thirds system camera, which is an important context.
Right. So we've been looking through some bits from a review, which is called Texto Colado, nothing fancy.
Okay.
And our mission really is to figure out what makes this camera tick. We're going to talk about its retro chic design, which definitely stands out, and some of its handling quirks, but also, crucially, the image stuff, 4K video, how the autofocus performs, connectivity.
And that little pancake lens, right?
Yeah.
The 1442 millimeter EZ.
Yes. That lens is definitely part of the appeal. So if you're wondering whether this mix of old school looks and new tech deserves a place in your camera bag, stick around. This is for you.
Okay, so jumping right in, what's really interesting, I think, is how they've managed to blend that vintage film camera look with some pretty modern guts inside.
Yeah.
The review mentioned the silver version specifically. Apparently, it really leans into that look. And it's got like a proper magnesium alloy top and base plate. Feels solid.
Oh, nice. So it doesn't just look old school. It feels sturdy, too.
Exactly. And those texture grips help. But then inside, you've got a 20-megapixel live MOS sensor, the TruePic the 8 processor that's the brain doing all the image work.
Right, processing speed, noise reduction, all that.
Yeah. And a 2.36 million dot OLED electronic viewfinder, the EVF. That EVF is kind of the window into the modern side.
Absolutely. And that EVF, the review actually calls it a highlight, which, says something. It apparently gives you a really colorful, punchy image. And even though the camera's small, the viewfinder magnification is 0.62x, which is pretty decent. Makes it feel bigger.
Immersive, yeah.
Yeah. And I think what's really useful is that lag-free preview. You see exactly what you're going to get, exposure, white balance, even those art filters before you shoot.
That's huge for getting it right in camera. Saves editing time later.
Totally. And then there's the screen on the back, a 3-inch touch screen. It flips up 180 degrees for selfies, obviously.
Right.
And down about 45 degrees for, shooting from the hip or low down.
Useful flexibility.
It is. Though the review does say the resolution, 1.04 million dots, is kind of serviceable but not class-leading.
Okay, so good enough, but maybe not the sharpest screen out there.
Pretty much. Fine for menus and checking shots, but maybe if you're really pixel-peeping focus, some others might be a bit better.
That makes sense. It's about trade-offs, isn't it? You get that good EVF for the critical stuff and a versatile screen for other things. Now, actually picking it up,
Yeah.
the review really talks about how nice it is to handle. It's light-like, 425 grams with the battery and card.
Wow. That is light.
Yeah, compared to a lot of mirrorless cameras, definitely.
Yeah.
But it still feels, solid, reassuring.
Not plasticky.
Doesn't sound like it. And the grip, even though it's described as modest, apparently works well, especially with that little pancake zoom attached.
Okay.
And that controls the dials, the little 4-way pad, a couple of custom buttons. They're all apparently right where your thumb and finger expect them to be.
That sounds like good design. Easy to just pick up and shoot.
Yeah, thoughtful ergonomics.
It really does sound like they've nailed that blend of the tactile feel with modern usability.
Yeah.
And Olympus menus. The review says they've always been pretty good, and this Mark IV keeps that up.
Okay.
The My Menu thing sounds great. You just stick your favorite settings like ISO, AF area, whatever, right there for quick access.
Yeah, that saves a lot of digging around.
Definitely. But what I thought was really neat was the live guide interface. It's aimed at beginners, but it sounds quite smart.
How so?
Well, instead of just showing you, thopseps, it translates those settings into visual things. Like, you adjust a slider to make the sky warmer, or it shows you how changing aperture affects the background blur in real time.
So that's clever. So it actually teaches you what the settings do visually.
Exactly. It's not just easy mode. It helps you understand the why. Great for learning.
That's genuinely useful.
Yeah.
And carrying on with handling, the review mentions how balanced it feels with that 1442 millimeter pancake lens on.
Yeah, that lens seems key.
Totally. The zoom is motorized, the EZ type. Apparently it's whisper quiet and really smooth. Goes from 28 millimeter to 84 millimeter equivalent, because of the micro four thirds crop factor.
Right, the 2x crop.
And the best part, It collapses down super small when you turn the camera off. Makes the whole setup almost compact camera size.
That's a huge selling point for travel, I bet. Or street photography, being discreet.
Absolutely. That near-silent zoom helps with discretion, too.
Good point. Okay, so practicality, battery life. The review says modest, around 360 shots CP rated?
Not amazing, but not terrible either for a small camera.
True. But the big plus is USB-C charging. You can just top it up from a power bank.
Oh, that's brilliant for traveling. One less charger to carry.
Exactly. Huge convenience factor. Okay, let's talk image quality. People always bring up micro four thirds sensors and, noise at high ISOs.
Yeah, that's the perennial debate, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but this review seems pretty positive about the 20 megapixel sensor and the processor in the Mark IV.
Okay, what did it say?
Well, it directly addresses that skepticism. Says at base ISO 200, the JPEGs are silky smooth, colors are vibrant, contrast is well handled.
That's good.
And interestingly, it suggests you can push it up to ISO 1600 pretty confidently. Still get good detail, good shadow tones without needing flash and dim light.
That's quite usable then. ISO 1600 covers a lot of situations.
Yeah, and if you shoot RAW, the 12-bit files apparently have excellent dynamic range. You can pull back highlights, lift shadows pretty cleanly in editing.
Good latitude, yeah. That's important for flexibility.
And then there's that Olympus trick, the high-res shot mode. Creates a 50-megapixel equivalent image.
Right, by shifting the sensor slightly. But you need a tripod for that, don't you?
You do, yeah. Tripod needed, and your subject has to be perfectly still. No swaying trees or anything.
Okay, so niche, but potentially amazing for landscapes or architecture.
Exactly. Getting detail that rivals bigger sensors. And the review also liked the color's natural skin tones in the portrait mode. Nice pop to blues and greens in landscape. Plus, there's a dedicated black and white profile and a grainy film filter for people who like that look.
Yeah, those in-camera creative options are fun. Adds to the shooting experience. Okay, what about video? That's pretty important these days.
It is, and the 4K is positioned as a plus, especially for maybe vloggers or people wanting a compact video setup.
What are the specs?
It does UHD 4K, so 3840 by 2160 at 30 frames per second. Clips can be up to 29 minutes long.
Okay, standard stuff. How's the quality?
Described as sharp, good detail, and the autofocus tracking seems stable during recording.
But any limitations for serious video shooters?
Yeah, a couple. No headphone jack for monitoring audio, and it's
Yeah.
not doing internal 10-bit recording for heavy color grading.
Ah, okay. So good for social media, family stuff, travel videos, but maybe not pro-level filmmaking.
That's the gist, yeah. More than adequate for most people, probably.
And stabilization. Olympus is usually good with that.
Big advantage here. It's got in-body image stabilization, IBIS, up to 4.5 stops of compensation.
That's pretty significant. Should mean smoother handheld shots, even in lower light.
Right. And if you use a lens that also has stabilization, apparently you can get really smooth handheld 4K clips.
Nice combo.
It also has a little pop-up flash, which the review notes can be surprisingly handy for fill light sometimes.
Oh, okay.
And the internal stereo mic, but fine for ambient sound, maybe a quick voiceover. But for really good audio,
You'd need an external mic.
yeah, either using Olympus's little USB adapter or just using a separate recorder altogether.
Makes sense. Standard limitations for a camera this size, really.
Oh.
Okay, autofocus. How does it stack up?
It's a 121-point contrast detect system, but they've added some deep learning smarts, apparently, for better subject tracking faces, eyes, even animals, supposedly faster and more reliable than the older model.
Contrast detect. So how does it perform in practice?
In good light, the review says it's snappy, keeps up well with people walking, cyclists, that sort of thing.
Okay.
In lower light, it might hunt a bit more, that slight back and forth to lock on.
Uh-huh. Common for contrast detect?
Yeah, but it rarely fails to actually get focus, apparently. Just might take a fraction longer sometimes.
And the face and eye detection.
Sounds like a real plus for portraits. It finds the eye, sticks to it, even if the person moves a bit. That's super helpful.
Definitely takes the guesswork out of focusing for portraits. But limitations.
Well, because it is contrast detect, the review points out it's probably not the best bet for really fast, unpredictable action, like serious sports photography or trying to track birds in flight.
Right, it might lag behind those super fast subjects.
Exactly. It might be a bit too sluggish for that specialized stuff. But for everyday shooting street, candids, family events, sounds like it's perfectly capable.
Yeah, horses for courses. You choose the gear for the job, connectivity, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth.
Yep, got both. Pretty much essential now, isn't it?
Totally.
There's the OI.Share app for your phone. You can transfer JPEGs wirelessly, though raw files might be a bit big for that routinely.
Yeah, fair enough.
And you can control the camera remotely, live view on your phone, change settings, trigger the shutter.
Useful for group shots or selfies.
Exactly. The review said the app interface isn't like the slickest ever, but it works reliably.
Function over form, maybe.
Seems like it. And the Bluetooth connection is low energy, so it can stay paired for quick connections without draining the battery too much.
Nice.
Oh, and it can use your phone's GPS to geotag photos. Small thing, but handy for travel.
Definitely. Little conveniences add up. Okay, let's circle back to that M.Zuiko 14-42 millimeter pancake lens. Sounds like it's a real star of the show.
It really does. The review highlights it quite a bit. I mean, it's tiny, 22 millimeters long, when collapsed weighs only 93 grams.
That's crazy small for a zoom lens.
It is. But apparently the optical quality is surprisingly good. Sharp edge-to-edge at the wide end, even wide open. Distortion is well controlled.
Impressive for a kit lens, especially a pancake.
Yeah. And even zoomed into 42 millimeters, it stays crisp. You can even get a bit of background blur for portraits. Not like a fast prime lens, obviously, but
Better than you might expect from a kit zoom.
that sounds like it, yeah. And that quiet electric zoom we mentioned, great for video smooth zooms, no weird noises or focus breathing.
Okay, so what's the catch? There's always a catch with small lenses.
The aperture mostly. It's f3.5 at the wide end, closing down to f5.6 when zoomed in.
So not very bright. You'd need to bump the ISO up in low light.
Exactly. That's the main trade-off for getting it so small. Sometimes you might be pushing ISO 3200 or even 6400 indoors or at dusk.
Right. But overall, sounds like a fantastic little all-rounder for travel, street, just everyday snapping.
That's definitely the impression. Super versatile and pocketable.
So pulling it all together, who is this camera really for?
The review paints a clear picture, I think. Travelers, definitely. Anyone wanting portability without a huge image quality drop.
Makes sense.
Beginners, too, because of things like that live guide and the creative filters. Makes it less intimidating.
Yeah, approachable.
Street photographers, small, quiet, discreet. Vloggers who want that 4K and IBIS in a tiny package. And just general everyday shooters, really. People who like nice JPEG straight from the camera, easy use, and that cool retro style.
Right. And who is it maybe not for?
Probably not the best fit if your main thing is like machine gun burst shooting for sports or serious wildlife tracking where the AF needs to be absolutely top tier for erratic movement.
Gotcha. So finding that balance.
Exactly. It really seems to hit a sweet spot for people who value good images, manageable size, charming design, and having that great little pocketable lens.
Okay, let's do a quick pros and cons summary based on the review. Pros first.
Okay, pros. Super compact and light, especially with the pancake. Classic styling, solid build, sharp 20 MP sensor, versatile colors, that effective 4.5 stop IBIS. Responsive EVF, handy flip-up touchscreen, reliable Face Eye AF, plus the helpful live guide, and seamless Wi-Fi Bluetooth for sharing and remote shooting.
Quite a list. Okay, cons.
Cons. Battery life is just okay, kinda modest. The contrast detect AF isn't ideal for high-speed action. Screen resolution is adequate, but not amazing. No headphone jack or 10-bit internal video, and the internal mic is basic. And that pancake lens, while great, has a relatively slow maximum aperture for low light.
Right, so clear trade-offs there. It helps people weigh what's important to them.
Totally. So the final verdict seems to be, this isn't just another entry-level mirrorless. It's more thoughtful than that.
Engineered with a specific blend in mind.
Yeah, that blend of heritage looks and feel with modern photo and video tech. It could be a great upgrade from phone, or maybe replacing an older, clunkier DSLR, or just being that perfect little travel camera.
It sounds like it offers a nice mix of simplicity for beginners,
Right.
but enough capability and features like the IBS, the good EVF, the custom menus to satisfy more experienced shooters too, features you might usually find in pricier cameras.
Exactly. And the review gets a bit emotional. It says it's a camera to fall in love with.
Oh, really? Why?
Because of the satisfying dials, the nice crisp images, just how it feels lightweight, comfortable.
That subjective element is important, isn't it?
Yeah.
How a camera makes you feel when you use it.
For sure. And paired with that pancake lens, it sounds like a kit that really nails that balance of style and substance. Ideal for photographers who care about capturing moments, telling stories, without being burdened by gear.
Sounds appealing.
Yeah. So the review basically concludes, if that description resonates with you, if that blend sounds right, then the OMD EM10 Mark IV is definitely worth checking out.
Like, makes sense. A clear recommendation for a specific type of photographer.
So, to kind of wrap up our deep dive here, what we've seen from exploring the Olympus OMD EM10 Mark IV is, well, it's a pretty compelling package, isn't it? It genuinely seems to mix that vintage charm people love with real, practical, modern, mirrorless features.
Yeah, it really does hit that sweet spot, especially, like you said, for people prioritizing portability, ease of
Yeah.
use, but who still want, really good pictures,
Yeah.
not wanting to compromise too much on quality,
Right.
which leads to maybe a final thought for people listening. How much do you value that tactile, hands-on feel of shooting? The dials, the handling,
Right.
alongside just the pure convenience of modern digital tech.
Interesting question.
Could a camera like this, one that tries to blend the best parts of both worlds, could that actually be the thing that maybe reignites your passion for photography or takes it somewhere new?
Definitely something to think about, that balance between the experience and the technology.